From breaking down key bills to answering your live call-in questions, Senator Sawyer and David engage in meaningful conversations on the issues that matter most to our state. No matter your political affiliation, We're Just Saying keeps you informed and involved in the efforts to make North Carolina a better place for everyone. Welcome to the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. Like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. Another beautiful Friday outside, another successful week in Raleigh. Good morning, Senator Sawyer.
Hi, good morning, David. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, life. Everything is wonderful. It's a great Friday.
You're awful chipper.
No controversy. Crossover is over. Actually, we are going to approach a little bit of a controversial subject at 11:30.
Oh, gosh. What have you done?
I know.
What'd you do?
I did something.
Of course, well, I gathered, but like
I did a thing.
You did a thing?
It's kind of like when I tell my husband, guess what? I did a thing. If you have been paying attention to the Charlotte City Council, and a friend of ours and to the show who's been on here before, Tark Bakari, he actually got called up to the major leagues.
He did get called up in the major leagues.
He did. He is working under the President Trump administration. So for those of you who don't know Councilman Bakari, he's one of the only Republicans to serve on the city council for, many years. Hard fought. Every time he has a election, and it is just like bare knuckle bone local. He and his wife Krista have just been a staple in that community, representatives of their district, and one of only 2 Republicans on Charlotte City Council. Mm-hmm. So Tark got pulled up to the major leagues, and now he's doing public transit work up there in Washington, and Krista's at home keeping the home fires burning. But because of her involvement, she actually ran for the House and did a really good job in that district.
Came very close.
She really did. She's just an impressive lady. And so she had put her name in to fill the unexpired term of Councilman, her husband. So she has been pretty vocal, and then all of a sudden there's these we'll let her get into it, but there was some conversations that were released to the media. There was allegations of not supporting the police, and there's been a lot of hubbub about it, and she put out a very personal statement about where she is and how she believes she should be the right person to fill that position. And actually, I agree. I think she's a fantastic community leader that deserves her spot to fill out that term. And so she's going to come on and kind of talk a little bit about the issues that she's facing in getting that appointment. And so we'll have her at 11:30.
And a lot of this stems from, if you follow Charlotte politics and everything like that, when Councilman Bakari was on there, a huge advocate for the vests, those protective vests for police. And you wouldn't think that would be the hot button that became down there, but it had been. And so a lot of this stems from that. So when Krista gets on here, I look forward to hearing from her on that, because it's interesting. I mean, it's like I said, it's very interesting because there's a whole, there's things with the police chief, there's things with the city council, there's things with the mayor, the attorney, interim attorney down there. I mean, it really is kind of, fascinating from our end, if you're a political nerd, to see sort of what's going on down there. Yeah. But you also sort of hate that this is gotten to where it is.
That's right.
Gotten to where it is. So we'll hear more from her.
Yeah, we will. We'll hear more from her. And so, and then also this whole crossover week is done.
Crossover's over.
You know what? It was the coolest thing. So I was thinking back into my show prep about how many crossovers I've been through. So this will be my 4th crossover. And at no time ever have we finished a day early. But this time we finished a day early.
Well, and I got to tell you, I would not have had that on my bingo card.
Nope.
That y'all would finish early.
No.
Because you never finish anything.
There's
early.
always something that has
always
to be
something
done,
that happens.
But
you did get it, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to the Senate staff, and for those folks in Raleigh who work in the fiscal and legislative research. They really do a lot of work to help us get to where we are in this position. But again, I contend that this whole this whole deadline of crossover where we say a bill has to get to the House or to the Senate, It's just hazing for lobbyists. I swear it is. I don't really, because nothing is ever dead. Nothing is ever dead.
Nothing is ever
Well,
dead.
speaking a little bit of local drama that we did get over, one of the bills that I had worked on for a crossover was a local bill here. So I won't talk too much because I know our listening audience isn't all in Lake Norman area, but we have a Lake Norman Marine Commission, which is comprised of 4 counties that surround the beautiful, largest man made lake in North Carolina, Lake Norman. Surely, what could go wrong
What
when
could
you
go
are
wrong?
talking about
What could go wrong?
boats and water and people's freedom on the lake and all that other stuff? But, anyways, there's since I started and ever lived, there's always been this swirl of contention around Lake Norman Marine Commission about their duties and authority and what you can do and what you can't do. And so I had been listening to folks from across the communities in all the counties that were had well in 2 counties mainly that had some issues going on there, and so we just kind of started talking like you usually do, and that's what you kind of elect me to do, is listen to constituent concerns and bring those concerns to a point. And if we cannot get it resolved, then you move forward through legislation. And that is the process. And go figure, apparently that's like not allowed. Like, it's so funny. Everybody accuses you of doing things in a dark room if they're not in the room, even though you invite them to the room.
Yes. Yes.
Like, what the?
That's always my favorite is this was not transparent. This was not done in full view. It's like, you were in the room.
Dude, you were there.
You were part of the conversation. How is this not transparent?
So do I have to like tell you every little thing that I'm doing now? Is that how it is? Like, maybe I should just have like one of those a video camera on me at all times to go, well, actually I shouldn't. And then go like, hey, okay, I'm talking to this person now. So now I'm transparent. But
get those meta glasses and just be constantly live streaming.
How
I think
boring
it's always,
that would be.
And this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion. But
You're full of them.
I am very full of them, full of that and many other things. But one of the things that I'm a firm believer in transparency. I believe in everything like that. But I also am, as a former elected official, it is not a good idea to be 100% fully transparent on, a lot of this stuff, because when you're out there, when you're legislatively making sausage and things like that, people, if it is fully transparent, you'll never get anything done, because inevitably people are going to grandstand. Inevitably people are not going to speak their mind. They are not going to maybe take an unpopular stance or something like that because of fear of public retribution. So when you're dealing with these heavy issues, unless you need to be able to talk openly and frankly inside, for a while. Now, at some point, yes, transparency's got to come, right? But when you're making, nobody wants to watch the sausage be made.
So I kind of liken it to in life. We all have done this. You have to do like a thesis paper, right? And so those are your ideas that you present to be judged at the end. But during the time, nobody wants to sit there and look to see wherever, how you got all your sources or what. But you have to put in like the footnotes where all the sources are. And I think that's where the legislative process is, because what happens and let's also take that a step further. What happens is if you have to, if I can't just have internal thoughts or just have ideas that may be absolutely not good and work through that sausage making process, and if it's all like out in the open, then they're going to say, God, Vickie, that was a terrible idea. And then the next thing I know, my terrible idea, which I really never thought would go anywhere, is going to be in a mailer against me in the next day. So there's got to be a balance of, it's kind of like when you and your husband is sitting down there to make your will.
I don't have one of those.
Oh yeah.
You and your husband.
You could if you would like. I think your wife would be very upset about that. But
yes, I don't know, man. She might like getting rid of me every now and then. but
it's kind of like, you and your husband are sitting, or your spouse are sitting down to make your last will and testament. I mean, do you really want the kids and the grandkids and everybody else in there having their decision making ability, or do you just
no? Well, I certainly don't want my kids to hear the conversations between me and my wife on, how much I want to leave each of them because I love one more than the other.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It's like, I just don't want to have those conversations. I don't want them to see that.
Especially because we know Andrew will get it all. So
I know that if his mom had it, if mom had her say yes, because he's the boy, and she's the mama. But I kid. I love all my kids. Yeah, all kidding aside.
All love them equally.
But
I plan on like going down with nothing.
Well,
Like, if I can work that out to where I can leave a good name in business, a great legacy and love, and $0, I
yeah,
think that's my point.
I want the last check I write to bounce.
Yeah,
That's like that's what I want. Of
yeah.
course, I don't really write checks anymore.
Yeah, I
But
know.
actually, no. That actually, I will, because, like, if it's still a situation when hopefully 30 years from now, 40
Uh-huh.
years from now, when I
Sure.
expire, if politicians are still collecting checks, I'm going to write one that I know is going to bounce, and then
Oh,
and have it
yeah.
delivered. Upon my death, I want
Oh,
this to go to this
funny.
politician,
Oh my
so
God.
so it will bounce.
You should so put that in your will. Like, my last will and testament, I shall give these bounce checks, or bounce a check to these
Exactly.
people because of
Exactly. I want a
life.
max out contribution
Yeah.
to these politicians to be mailed, knowing full well it'll bounce.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we don't carry grudges at all.
At
do we?
all. Of
Oh
course,
my God.
40 years from now, the people I have grudges with now, I'm not at all. They won't be in office, and of course, there might be a couple.
Oh, I know. I mean,
People are
there's,
hanging in there for a
remember
while.
Strom Thurmond?
I do remember Strom
Yeah,
Thurmond.
I know. I
Yes.
think he outlived many of his adversaries.
Exactly. And like one of my favorite stories of yours is when Strom
Oh,
Thurmond hit on
God,
you.
I did. I did. Strom Thurmond. Should I tell the story?
Yes, you should tell the
He's
story.
passed. I shouldn't.
He's gone.
All right. Okay. Well,
Well, and didn't he die with like a 20-year-old wife or something? I mean, like he had,
okay.
or something like that.
So, from what I've heard after I told the story, a few of my friends will say, "Well, Vic, even an old rat likes cheese."
That's messed up.
Okay, real quick. After I decided not to teach, I worked at a sports marketing firm where they were very kind. They happily employed me at 5 different agencies for minimum wages. And so I worked. One of the things that I did as a work is I would go to the racetrack. And at the racetrack, I was the liaison for a lottery winner. So if you had done business with Trans South Financial, they would put your name in the hat, and each one of those lottery winners would get a like all exclusive pass to a race, and the race that it was Darlington, South Carolina. And this specific race is the year that Diana died, and the year that Jeff Gordon won the first $1 million bounty. So I'm dating myself for us Southerners, but for everyone else, this is the year that Diana died. Okay. So, as part of my duties, I had this lovely couple who had won, and we were going around, and we were to ride in the pace car with Strom Thurmond. It wasn't really a pace car, it was more like a pace bus with Strom Thurmond around the first couple laps, starting the engine. So he would say, "Gentlemen, start your engines." We waited for him. He got in the car. And at that time, I mean, I used to be a good looking woman. I mean, I used to be cute. I had that girl next door thing going on
You're still good
for an old hag, for an old washed up politician. So, anyways, on God, I can't believe I'm telling this story.
It's a great story.
So the good senator, we did the lap, and we started on the start finish line. This is how I remember this very vividly. And so the senator sat near me, and chatted me up a little bit, but there was some distance in there between us. And so he gets out, like, it took him 100 years because he looked like Mr. Burns at that point. So he gets out of the race truck or whatever van we're in. And he turns around and he stands around the start finish line. And then I come out and going to get the folks behind me. But as I come out, he shakes my hand and he tells me, and he looks right in my eyes, and he said, "Darling, it was so nice meeting you." And he pulls me into him and then rubs my back and says, "And I look forward to seeing you again."
Strong head game. Strong. And I bet you were like, ooh, heart was all a flutter, wasn't it? I love the story.
I knew at that time that my destiny was politics.
There it was. That's when you got your motivation.
That's when a star was born.
But that's
Strom
awesome.
Thurmond hit on me.
Good old Strom.
Again, even old rats.
Yeah, want cheese.
Want
Yeah,
cheese.
I mean, it's what they say.
Oh, God. This show's
all
gonna
men
go
are
off the rails.
all men are dogs, right? I mean, and it doesn't matter how old they are.
Oh my God. Speaking of that, this week, if you were to watch our rules committee meeting, it was the funniest freaking thing. So we have crossover, tons of bills. I mean, it was like a melee. And Senator Rabin gets up and he said, "Okay, this is our last rules meeting before crossover." So, like Solomon said to his 600 wives, I'm not here to talk. So
That is epic. I'm not here to talk. I'm so stealing that someday. that I'm stealing that someday.
So when I got up to present my Lake Norman Marine Commission bill, I said 3 words. I said, well, more than 3 words, but 3 points. Stakeholder process, local bill, please vote. And that's it. And I walked out. I was like, I get where we're at here.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
I'm going to remember that for a long time.
Yeah, a long,
As
long
Solomon
time.
said to his 600 wives. I love that. But
Speaking of which,
uh-huh.
oh my gosh, the people of North Carolina who are excited about their hunting rights and their ability to drink raw milk were in force this week.
Were they?
In force. Raw milk. Do you drink it?
No. My wife is a huge fan of it.
Oh, she drinks raw milk?
Well, when you can find it, wink, wink, nod, nod. It's gonna be it can be very difficult to find sometimes. But she loves it as a coffee creamer. And she's big fan. I don't think I have ever drank raw milk.
You know what? We should bring raw milk to the show next week and let's see. Let's do a chugging contest.
Honestly, I like my additives and all the unnecessary hormones.
You like a Louis Pasteur
exactly,
and
exactly.
homogenization?
Exactly. And my wife always gets on me. She's like, it tastes so much better. It tastes so much. That's great. That's fine. I really don't drink a lot of milk. To be fair, I pour it on cereal. Might make a chocolate milk every now and then, but I'm just not a big milk drinker.
I wonder who the first person was that saw milk come from a cow and go, that seems tasty.
Yeah. Somewhere in the evolutionary process it happened. Not sure where, but yeah.
Okay. So
educate me on the raw milk.
All right. So we got 10 minutes before Krista calls in. So let's go down the raw milk train. Now, this is kind of like politically fraught for me because we do have some amazing dairy farmers here in Iredell County who do not want to legalize the selling of raw milk. Now, to their point, and I actually can see this, that, if you do not have very clean production of raw milk, you can be, basically the guy said that like pink eye is a big deal. And you know how you get pink eye?
Yeah, I do. Yep. Enough said.
Can we say it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's
basically
the
you get feet. Yeah, the poo.
You're drinking the poo.
Yeah, exactly.
He said that's the most common thing is not the bird flu, but it is pink eye. Blech. But anyways, so there is a strong lobby against, and hearing from that, Commissioner Troxler put in what they call the Farm Act, which is one bill that deals with agriculture that usually is supported by the Department of Agriculture and Senator Brett Jackson and Representative Jimmy Dixon in the House. But it's always controversial. But who knew the most controversial part of this was going to be raw milk?
Yeah.
So much so that a raw milk loving freedom lady from Asheboro, North Carolina, got caught with a pistol concealed without a concealed carry coming into the office building where I work on the safe floor. Now, I don't know if she was going to use it or just did like an absent-minded, I have it in a backpack and forgot, but she gets to explain that to the judge now.
I was going to, so I'm assuming, and if anybody's never been to the General Assembly, if you go into the legislative building or into the office building, you have to pass through security. It's like going through an airport line. You got to put everything out of your pockets in a little bowl. If you've got a bag, you've got to pull your laptop out, all those things, and it goes through an x-ray machine. You walk through the thing, you get wanded, and then your stuff comes out the other side. It's very efficient. The guys are always very nice.
So great.
They are so great. I'm assuming she put her bag on there and they said, firearm is in here. They saw the firearm.
Yeah. So these folks were so passionate. I cannot tell you how many hundreds and maybe thousands of emails of like genuine emails of people who are consumers or producers of raw milk who want to legalize the practice of selling it. Now, some people say, well, it's already legal in North Carolina, and it is. So if you, David, you can buy part of a cow. That part of the cow is called a herd share agreement. So whatever that cow produces, which is milk, I'm sure you don't want to buy the poo.
No,
although your wife is a very avid gardener. Maybe she does want part of the cow poo, I guess. In this herd share agreement, that you too can drink from
The raw milk.
the raw milk and enjoy it. So, but there's, they say there's all these health benefits. It helps with, like I guess like raw honey, the same
Mhm.
thing that you're supposed to eat honey from where you live, so they'll help with your allergies, so you can build up an immunity. So there's all these things, but man, oh man, were these people on fire? I have never. Okay, so this was the funniest. Well, I think it was funny. So we were in judiciary, and like there was lines of people all the way out the door. Not everybody could fit in the committee room because they were there to speak for the sale of raw milk. I mean, it was packed. People were absolutely on fire about it. So Senator Jackson amended the bill to say, we're going to make this a study. That's the move in Raleigh. Like if everything's contentious, to say we'll just study it. So he
Mhm.
said, let's just make the legalization of raw milk a study, and keep the herd share agreement, and then the entire like audience like erupted like we were at a rock concert. I was like,
They were happy about the study.
they were happy about the eliminating the prohibition of the sale of raw
Mhm.
milk, because the way people are getting around it now, and you can go to local farmers markets and you open up the whatever you call it. What do you call it? A
Cooler.
cooler. Thank you. And it will say, not for human consumption.
Yes, I have seen that.
Not for human consumption. So the way they get around the herd share agreement is that if they are doing the sale of that for not human consumption, and then you use it off label. And so that's where the kind of the whole thing is. So we are continuing to hear from the raw milk folk, and that has been very interesting. And then so we had raw milk day and then orange hat day. Oh Lord, the hunters are mad.
What'd y'all do?
I did not do anything. Note, this is not me. This is not my bailiwick, but they are mad. Okay, so folks, there's an agency bill, and one of the agency bills, it talks about the agency had requested that we prohibit people trespassing on land to hunt, because it's a huge problem. So if you're driving down the road and you see all those purple markings on the trees and no
Mhm.
trust, the purple mark means stay off. I don't want you on my property, right?
Is this prohibition of people trespassing on state land?
No,
Or is this
on
private?
private land.
So trespassing on private land isn't already illegal?
Well, yes, but they were going to increase
The penalty?
the penalty,
Okay.
and they said that you needed to have a written agreement from the landowner in order to be able to. Now, that sounds like, okay, I'm in the woods, I'm hunting, and I see a purple tree. Don't go there. Fine. Well, the coon hunters don't think that's the case, because dogs are colorblind and they don't see when that little tree has a purple ring on it. And so their dogs will be chasing whatever they're chasing. I guess coon hunters, they do bear, they do all kinds of stuff. And
Or raccoons?
You think so?
You maybe. I'm spitballing here, but
Is there really a raccoon market for hunting? Those suckers
yeah.
are smart, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a market to hunt about anything.
Hmm.
Almost anything, unless it's those
people?
unless it's those stupid geese that land on the golf course and poop on everything. You can't hunt them. Can't do anything about them. But
we should so make them like a delicacy or something. Those things are miserable.
Oh, I hate it. And they hiss at you too.
Oh, they're nasty.
They're mean.
Nasty.
Oh, I hate them.
Yeah, kill them all. So, anyways, so if the hunter is got to go on somebody's property because their dog is colorblind and couldn't see the no trespassing in the purple trees, they're saying that this will prohibit them from coon hunting or coon dog hunting. So they came with their orange hats.
Yeah.
And there were a mighty force of them, because and you would think it was just an Eastern North Carolina thing, but I learned through Senator Eddie Settle that we have like world champion I keep on saying coon dog. I think there's a different word, but I'm just going to say it. Coon dog breeders in Wilkes County that have won like millions of dollars with their dogs and stuff about the show breeds.
Mhm.
It's like a major, major deal. So
I think a coon dog won the Westminster Jog Show this year.
really,
Yeah, the one that always run on Thanksgiving.
yeah.
I want to say I think a coon dog won like one of the best in shows.
So
or
you were
something like that.
watching the dog instead of the football?
Look, before football comes on, the
Okay.
dog show is always going, and inevitably I'm with
Okay.
family who want to watch the dogs. So,
Oh,
but yeah,
okay.
we eventually
I was-
switched to football.
I was getting ready to check your man card there for a
No,
minute. I was
that's like
curious.
well, I mean, a bulldog won it 2 years ago.
Speaking of which, oh yeah, because Maggie's your
Maggie, yes,
sweet
my sweet
Maggie.
Maggie's a bulldog.
Yes, if you ever are on the phone with David when he's walking Maggie, it's really sweet because you have a conversation in the middle of it. He goes, "Maggie, drop it. Drop it. Drop it, Maggie. Maggie, drop. 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 Apparently, Maggie is really sweet, but she doesn't like to drop.
She doesn't like to listen at all. As
Most women in your life.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it is like she'll just randomly stop walking and lay down. And then I'm like,
Oh.
I guess our walk's over, and I'm like, Maggie, come, and she just kind of lays there and looks at me. And she's thick. She's an English bulldog, so she's thick. Built. She's heavy.
Yeah.
I can't, other than picking her up, which would break my back because she's just so thick. She's a potato, and so I just have to basically just let her get herself motivated to which it usually involves food.
Yeah.
Maggie treat. That if you want to motivate Maggie treat.
Oh,
then
good.
She will actually get
just
going.
like me.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
If you want to motivate me, just give me
So
a treat.
raw milk, and
raw
Hunters.
milk and orange hat and Hunters. And last thing before a break, I couldn't bet on the ponies.
No, the horse racing didn't make it.
I couldn't bet. No.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you could not because you can't bet. You can't legally bet on the horses.
I can't legally bet on the horses. So I went in and I got my little DraftKings because that $44 is burning a hole in this girl's pocket, and I was going to bet it all on the Kentucky Derby. And it made me set up a separate app, and I went in, I set it up for is it called parimutuel betting? What is it?
Yeah, parimutuel.
Parimutuel betting, or is that anyways? So I get in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna. And no, your state does not allow boating bet. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to find a game this week and then bet on it. So see if we can do anything with that. But last week we ended the show. I said that we were going to bet. I could not bet, and therefore.
So I'm the de facto winner. So basically you just forfeited.
Mm-hmm. Did you win?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yep. Did you win?
So I did not. I picked a 3-horse trifecta. 2 of my horses finished in the top 3, but the last one did not. I did not have Sovereignty winning the Kentucky Derby. I had Journalism winning the Kentucky Derby.
Well, there you go.
But, it happens.
Yeah.
You're listening to We're Just Saying. We'll be right back.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hurricane Helene, devastating impacts on the Southeast. Now it's time to help the people and communities who need it most. To make a one-time financial gift to the American Red Cross and enter how much you'd like to donate. Or go to redcross.org/donate. Together, we will make a difference for those recovering in hard-hit communities.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. Like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. As teased at the top of the show, we do have a special guest with us.
We do. We have Krista Bakari on the line. And a lot of folks may remember her from her fabulous campaign as she was trying to win that Mecklenburg County seat to go to Raleigh in the North Carolina House. And I met her before, but I got to know her during that. And she is so incredibly impressive. Now she's got this kind of like no name husband named Tark Bakari that I get. No, he's fantastic. And we talked about Tark and actually got pulled up to the major leagues, and he is now working with the Trump administration in public transportation, which left Krista here, and she is vying for his open seat to be on city council. Now, in other community or in other areas, like if I were not to be a senator anymore, then the local Republican Party would get to choose my replacement. But that's not how it works in Charlotte. Well, for Charlotte, it is a vote of the city council. And Krista's out making her case about why she should be the one to represent the Republicans and as one of the only Republicans on the Charlotte City Council. And then she had to come out with some other personal information. So because I respect her and I wanted to hear her voice and not just to be listened to on Facebook or hearing, what a news or, podcast or the could say, I think a podcast will give her an opportunity to kind of flesh everything out. So Krista, thank you so much for calling into the show. So happy to have you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it. I know you had released a long personal statement, but even before having to clear that up, did I accurately describe what's going on about your challenge or hope to be on the Charlotte City Council?
Well, absolutely. I would love to continue the work, the great work that my husband did for the citizens of District 6. I've worked behind the scenes with him for the last 7 years, so I've really gotten to know many of the neighborhood leaders, the business leaders in the community, and I would love to continue on the work that we started, not only for the district, but for our police officers. Tark and I have a deep love for CMPD, and we see a lot of their the rank and file's needs that are being ignored. And, we were always there to step up and fight for them. And that's what we're kind of seeing play out right now.
Yeah. So let's get into that because I saw where the Fraternal Order of Police in Mecklenburg County had just did a vote of no confidence for the chief of police. But even go back before then, this all started with your push to get vests for police officers. Can we go back to the beginning? Tell us about that story and how that unfolded.
Sure. So, when that all started, Tark made it very clear that he was taking off his city council hat and putting on his private citizen hat for this fight because he couldn't speak on behalf of the council or in his official position on this because they hadn't voted for that. So Tark was acting as a private citizen. Every time Tark sees a police officer, he goes up to them and speaks to them. He asks how they're doing, what they need, what can we do to support them. And that is not only in his what he can bring back to his colleagues in a city council from a city council perspective, but we are out there as private citizens as well supporting them. Right now, I have a sign-up genius going around to try to get them all adopted. Today is the last day of Police Week here for CMPD. The memorial service, it might still be going on. I logged in for a little bit, but it's a somber day for our police department today. They're reading off the names of all of our officers who are no longer with us. So, we've always acted, in our private lives as a support of them as well. The reason why we were trying to get them these outer carrier vests is because of the back problems that they were experiencing from the weight on the belt, from their belts. They're having to carry all of this heavy equipment around their waist every day, and they were begging for outer carrier vests to help distribute that weight. It's just unfortunate that it had to go down the path that it did. It would have been a great win for Jennings when the morale of the police department was at the lowest point that we had ever seen. He could have really gotten a win out of that, but he made it very difficult.
And Krista, help me out here because, as I've followed this, it always seemed very strange to me that, you know, something that is for the health and benefit of the officers, especially something like the outer vest, which, you know, because I've known a number of police officers retired and everything, and universally across all of them, they have back problems, joint problems, and things like that from the equipment that they've had to carry. So explain to me, why would a police chief be against getting these?
Well, Chief Jennings takes I think he calls it a community-based approach, where he was more concerned about how they looked to the community than how they felt every day. And that is, the officers knew that and understood that, and many of them resent that. You know, and honestly, with some of the things that are happening in the city, maybe we need a more militarized look. You know, we are experiencing daily shootings. I am to the point where I believe that the best thing that'll happen to CMPD is seeing Chief Jennings retire.
Yeah. So now I have worked with Tark on a few things, and I enjoy, quite frankly, his brevity and ability to sum up a conversation quickly. And he and I go back and forth. And I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciate you too, is that it's just so freeing to be able to have those frank conversations and back and forth, text or whatever. But in in the light of all of this, then recently, some of those conversations that were between Tark and the chief about the subject, somebody was kind of aired the dirty laundry with that, and that is what your huge statement was about. Can you kind of tell me and walk me through that?
Absolutely. So I think it was in January. Chief Jennings had, well, let's just say, I'm gonna say, from what I know, the NAACP, the president, Corinne Mack, was encouraged to submit a ethics complaint against Tark for those text messages. Now, had she not done that, those text messages would have never become public. Those were private text messages between Tark and Chief Jennings. So at the end of the day, they were the fact that this came out into the public, it's his fault that they came out into the public. We know now that some of his top leaders in his organization were helping create the case and helping Corinne Mack craft the ethics complaint. So it's very hard to believe that he didn't have any involvement in that. But I really, truly hope that, you know, the press will dig deeper and come to the truth, because I think that we deserve that.
You know, we mentioned that at the top of the hour when we were talking about like transparency and government and process. And, you know, there has to be some sort of freedom to be able to talk individually between two people who are policy decision makers without having to have it all aired out. And what you're saying is that it wasn't aired out until it was intentionally done so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing is when you're seeing, you know, whistleblowers being attacked, that is, we're in a dangerous place. And, you know, I truly, again, you know, this is the truth as I know it. I put out everything that I knew. I consulted with as many people as possible. And we just really need some more transparency and truth surrounding this entire process that they went through. And it really starts probably going back into January.
So now moving forward, when is the vote for the replacement for Tark?
That is in the coming week. So the deadline to submit your application is the 13th, and then they'll go through their process of interviewing and going over the applications, and then the vote will go from there.
Gotcha.
And Chris, let me ask you, are they obligated to fill that seat with another Republican?
Yes, they are obligated to fill a seat with a Republican who lives in the district. It's unfortunate that we have a council makeup like we do, making a decision for, a Republican candidate. Obviously, they are not going to want to put a strong candidate in that seat who will potentially run in November. And it's unfortunate because really we need to be looking at putting our constituents first, not the party first. So if they were doing the right thing by the constituents, they 100% would be putting me in that seat. But the Democratic Party of Mecklenburg does not want to see Krista Bakari in that seat.
Right, because you have great name ID. You've been on the campaign trail. You did great in your North Carolina House run, and that is always a pickup. And you guys are under the gun every time there is an election. You know what? You just changed my mind on something, Krista. I'm glad you talked about this because so many times I have had consternation about the local party choosing replacements because it doesn't really represent all Republicans. It just represents a few of the Republicans that show up to meetings on every other, month or whatever. And then I was like, well, maybe it's the electeds. But now I see where I'm wrong because you're exactly right. What is the motivation for them to put a strong candidate into that position that would actually speak into the party's to work with the party and be representative because they do want to put an intentionally weak candidate in there to make sure that they can take over that seat in the I changed my mind. Mine changed right here. Changing minds and hearts.
Well, listen, they have said they are going after this seat. And can you imagine if we we cannot lose this seat and it would be a disservice to Charlotte. It would be a disservice to District 6 residents.
Yeah.
Well, Krista, before we let you go, I got a question. Are you as fantastic on the karaoke mic as Tark? Because he and I have seen him belt out New York, New York in just an amazing fashion. So do you bring the karaoke skills like he does?
I do not. We found out. I try and I fail miserably. So I leave all of that up to him for sure.
Well, he is fantastic.
Yeah, he is great, and I do love being his biggest fan. So,
well, Krista, thank you so much for calling in and giving our listeners the opportunity to sort of hear about this and everything like that. Charlotte's such a big area with so much going on. Sometimes it's difficult to keep up with everything. So thank you very much for calling in and best of luck getting that seat. We're rooting for you.
Absolutely.
Hopefully they do the right thing down there. And you find yourself in that seat representing that district.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And as you're moving forward, Vickie, I would love for you to just keep in mind and hold this council accountable for the fact that they're giving out hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially of taxpayer dollars when they're asking you all to lead the charge to put a tax referendum on the ballot in November.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is something that we need to be pointing to them and saying, what are you doing? You are misusing taxpayer dollars when Johnny Jennings had zero leg to stand on in this case. He didn't even file an official complaint. So I truly believe we need to hold this council and their leadership accountable.
Yeah, understood. Oh, thank you.
Krista,
Well
thank you for calling in. I hope you have a great weekend. Best of luck.
You too.
Listeners, if you want to know or learn more about what Krista's going through, you can go to her Facebook page. She's got it at Krista, Krista, Keith, Keith, last name Bakari, Bokhari, and it will detail everything that she had just talked about in her statement. So stay tuned.
So, and it's funny because, anytime that you're a city council, so I went through this, not this, but the replacement of a town council member when I was on the Mooresville town board. And, that was a tragic situation with former Commissioner Mac Herring.
I loved Mac.
Yeah. And he passed away very suddenly. And great friend, great representative.
We lost two, like him and Frank.
Yeah, Frank right in the span of a week.
Yeah.
In the span of a week, which was just awful.
Yeah.
That was a really terrible time for Mooresville. Both loved members of the community. And really great people. But we had to go picking a new person. And one of the things that when we were talking about it, one of the for us was who is going to best represent that ward, right? Not who was a friend, not who did we like or anything like that, but someone who had a good handle on things and a passion for the community and a passion for that ward who would represent them. So we had applications, we had an interview process, ultimately made a selection. And
who
so,
did you choose? Now that I can't remember.
We appointed former Commissioner
right.
Danny Beaver,
That's
who
right.
had represented
That's right.
that ward
That's right.
before.
Yeah.
And so
Okay. Thank you.
he had experience already as a
right.
commissioner, could sort of hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And so he was appointed.
Yeah. No, thank you. I mean, definitely food for thought, and completely understand now that, that one size fits all isn't the best way sometimes to handle those kind of reappointment things. And obviously that's not working well.
Well,
for
and we
city
have
of
the advantage,
Charlotte.
to be fair, of not being partisan. Our
Yeah.
races are nonpartisan. Those down in Charlotte are partisan.
Yeah.
So there's a whole separate dynamic that's playing into that down there.
It kills me each and every time, the irony of, like, my Democratic opponent, her whole thing, and she got national coverage, is about they gerrymander. I'm like, babe, look down to Charlotte and look, they draw their own lines. And you want to look at what real gerrymandering is? That, my friend, is there. So,
yes, it is.
I mean, come on. And poor Krista, she's just out there trying to represent her community and continue the good work that Tark had done. And he was a thorn in folks' side, but I think you have to be that way when you are in the super minority, which he was probably one of the, or if not the only, conservative voice on this council talking about things that mattered most, which is, public safety. He always is big about public safety. So that's a big concern in Charlotte.
Yeah, he's great leader down there in Charlotte, great servant of the community.
That's and actually, also have to be super nice, because now he's, kind of like the man about public transit.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I can't be saying anything nasty.
No, now you really got to say.
I know, I know. I mean, I liked him before, but now I really like him.
And I do, and I will say his character skills are on point.
Is he good singer?
Oh, he's very good.
Oh, nice.
He's very good. And if any of you have the opportunity to meet Tark, he doesn't do anything halfway.
No.
He goes all out. And so we were at an event, and he belted out of New York. I did a little Gangster's Paradise, and we were definitely the stars of the night, in my personal opinion. But it was so funny when I got done. I was walking off the little stage area, and he came running up to me. He goes, "That's what I'm talking about," and like just jumped into me with a big chest bump. There was a lot of testosterone flowing. At that time.
Bromance was born.
Absolutely. Tark's one of my favorite people. One of my favorite people.
Well,
but that's actually probably a good transition. And so, Board of Election news. We talked about it last week, right?
It's not a good transition.
Well, it's an special election going on down there, an appointment.
Okay, I'll follow you. I'm the one who does the awkward transition.
Well, I was going to take it off here. Well, you just had your mind changed on something, so I wanted to give you a moment for your body to adjust, because it's not really prone to happen. You're not used to this feeling of your mind being changed,
of being wrong,
of being wrong, and then acknowledging it. This is big. I mean, there's a lot going on for you right now. I was just giving you time to reboot.
This show is fire today. I'm just going to say we are all hitting on all 8 cylinders. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Well, it depends
6.
Well,
depends on the size of the engine.
Depends on the size of the engine.
All right. Or 4.
But we did obviously the Board of Elections is now under state auditor. The auditor Dave Bullock made his appointments, and so there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth going on right now.
Sure.
But it's actually it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I guess the court decision, has it been appealed?
So no, it has not been appealed. They basically went through the first one. It was stayed, and then the Court of Appeals said no, remove the stay so that the transfer can happen. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lawyer in search of a payday to make sure to go ahead and file another, challenge to this. But as of now, we have a Republican controlled Board of Elections. But regardless if it was Republican or Democrat, I'm going to say it's always good to look under the hood of an agency that has operated in the same fashion for so long. I mean, I really am very grateful of Dave, Auditor Dave, he's like to be called, but Dave Bullock, being able to kind of just freshen up and do and modernize and help get that Board of Elections to a place where we can all be comfortable regardless of your party. I think that's our sovereign right. That's not really sovereign right, but it is our right to vote, and it's something the government must protect. And I think that it's always good to update and refresh and move over.
No, and clarify for me, this decision did not extend down to like
Yeah.
Our local board of
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
Okay. So then for Iredell County, how does that work?
Same. It's just they will be right now. The auditor is looking at nominees for the Board of Elections, and you'll have a new chair, and you'll have 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats.
So he's going that entire process across the state will flow
Mhm.
through him. Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. No, I didn't realize that it
Mhm.
extended all the way down. So it'll be interesting to see what
You know
happens in
what
Iredell.
is very interesting for me as well? This next upcoming election under Republican control, it will be interesting to see what those heavily Democratic communities are doing. Like, there's always shade thrown at Durham, but in our defense, Durham is like coming in at the last minute and upsetting statewide elections. And even though there may nothing be wrong or nefarious going on, just Durham and the thought of it, it just feels like it's always some kind of shade coming up out of there. Like, let's just, I mean, the Allison Riggs and actually we need to talk about that too, because Jefferson Griffin, the Supreme Court candidate, who he finally lost his last case and he decided to not appeal. He had 7 days to appeal it. So now we have Justice Griggs, who is at the Supreme Court, and then Jefferson Griffin, who remains a judge on the Court of Appeals. So that has all been decided because he did concede. But those, I mean, remember we told the story last week. He was ahead by 10,000 votes, and the next thing you know, counties like Durham come in and he's down 724 votes. And so I'm really excited to see what the makeup and how those democratically run counties, what it will happen, and if there'll be any difference in data at this next election coming up than there was before. Like, I'm a little suspicious, but I'm hoping in my heart that they would not mess with the numbers. But
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, but when before we get out of here, I did want to say one cool thing. We have our first,
just
one cool thing. Well,
Okay,
I mean,
good, 'cause I've been waiting
to
all-
tack on for
okay.
all the other and deeply insightful things that I've spoken on this show today. We got our first American Pope.
Yes, we do.
We do. I mean, the golden age of America rolls on, and we now have so much winning. Now have an American Pope, but a bishop that was out of the Chicago diocese, first American. And what was so funny to me is that in the lead up to conclave and everything like that, when the next Pope would be elected, all of these news outlets and that anytime an American Pope was brought up, never going to happen. America's the superpower, giving them the Pope. That's never going to happen. The cardinals would never do it. They would never do it. And then lo and behold, boom. And so, and I'm personally not Catholic, but what I loved about that is that obviously that group of cardinals in there, obviously they don't look at the world the way a lot of people do, especially our mainstream media. That gives me solace that they don't look at the world through the eyes of some of the pontificators, no pun intended, about the pontiff. But yeah, first American Pope.
Can I tell you my joy about it?
Absolutely.
That they didn't choose the guy who would have represented the end of the church. Did you see that the beginning? What was that? Who was the pontificator? Now that's been in my head. There was a pope at the beginning of the Roman church, or I can't remember, and I'm going to mess up the story. But anyways, he had prophesied that there would be in the end times, the beginning of the end times, there'd be a final pope, and his pope name was Peter. Mm-hmm. And if they were to choose that one guy, it was really close. The guy from Italy, he was Roman, right? And that would be the end of the Catholic Church if they were chosen. And there was an Italian whose first name was something that could be translated into Peter. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to start stocking up on rice. Well,
not for nothing. Not for nothing, spoiler alert. If that's the case, well, let's just not pick anybody with that name. It's if you're those Cardinals, it's hey, you know what? Maybe it was a real prophecy. Maybe it wasn't, but we're not going to take that chance. So anybody named Peter need not apply, right? Peters need not apply.
We were sorry that he wasn't a Southern gentleman. Can you hear him doing Latin?
Oh gosh, I can't even.
Ominous day,
ominous may per tantus. Y'all. What's the Latin word for y'all?
Hilarious.
What's the Latin word for y'all? I ain't doing that Latin. Well, to be fair, the closest we get to Latin down here is Pig Latin. Ixnay on the Atten lay, Illy Bay. But I thought that was very cool when it came across my news feed. So
Yeah.
congratulations
To the new
to the new Pope.
Yeah, very good. And too bad he wasn't Southern, but I'm sure he can try.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, it could be another couple of 100 years, but it could happen. You never know. Stranger things have.
Yeah.
It was interesting. A lot of people, losing their minds over the Trump Pope picture. Somebody had AI generated a Trump Pope picture in the White House, sent it out. And it's like, it's like, guys, come on. I mean, you cannot be that filled with anger and hate every single day for 24 hours. Lighten up just a little bit.
Everyone has a choice. They have a choice to speak or to be quiet. I wish more people would choose the latter.
Yeah. It's like, look, I mean, take a joke.
Yeah.
All right.
Just get over it.
Just
Stop
get
being
over
so
it.
triggered. Good God. I mean, like, go out and go on a hike. Do something for yourself. Like, actually do something positive in your world that can change your life for good instead of sitting on the internet trolling people and talking about how triggered you are. Like,
what can I be outraged about today?
Yeah, I know. Like, get a freaking life. Go enjoy. Step outside. Not everything is in your computer, and maybe go for a run. Or like learn to knit.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, running, that's, I'll run when chased, but I'm not, I'd rather sit home and be triggered than run.
I know, like, what is this culture? Maybe we should start shaming that culture, like use their own words about the triggered culture. Like go eat an apple and sit outside or something.
I just always say, I hope your day gets better.
Is that what you do?
I hope your day gets better.
No, if I were the Southern Pope, we would say, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Yep.
Bless your heart.
Yep, that's exactly what we would say. Speaking of honors and everything like that, Mother's Day.
Yes.
Coming up.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Early, or I assume that your family will bathe you in the honor and glory appropriate to their station.
Nah, I don't think I deserve that. No, I just.
By that I mean, a card and brunch. I mean, like,
yeah,
at least get that,
a little
right?
church. I mean, at least everybody takes a shower and gets ready for church. I think that's about my Mother's Day. I'll be happy for that. That's the one thing I want.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I bathe.
Showered, clean, beautiful family photo, and to go visit Brett's mom as she had passed away a couple years ago. So I think we'll go back to his family church and say hello to her.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Had plans on a dinner for my mom. She only lives a couple miles away, and for Amanda. But Dad's not feeling good, some kind of flu or something like that. So we might postpone until the following week, but I'll be out buying a card, appropriate card for my wife, and then buying the cards for my kids for their mother. Because, I have to do that.
Do you?
Yeah. Cause I've got kids that are perfectly capable of going out and doing those things themselves, but inevitably, but usually my son makes her a card.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it usually has a very him sense of humor to it. So he'll print something out on the computer and write something funny on it.
On the way out,
like
life hack: when you find a good card, no matter where you are, buy it in multiples, and then you'll never have to be worried about a card. You just have a whole stack.
My grandmother
cards.
did that.
Yep,
she would buy cards in bulk. Everybody, thanks for living. To all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. Have a great weekend.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunch Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunch Johnson, where every detail matters. Call them at 704-873-7223 or stop by their location at 705 Davie Avenue, Statesville for your personalized